Inappropriate chords. Oh, hi. Morning. Sunday Live. We're back. And we're back. I was just playing through the new, I gotta find my YouTube page here so I can see comments and stuff. There you guys are. Yeah, I was just playing through the new PT100 plugin, which just came out. You may have seen for UAD. And I'm super stoked on it. It's funny, somebody in the comments for the first video I put up for it said, I'm imagining them saying it like this, but saying, compare the amp to the plug-in. Let's see how close this thing really is. So I actually did that this morning. I plugged in my PT that I have here through the reactive load, went into my Apollo interface, and disabled the preamp and power amp in the plug-in, and just used it for the IRs. And so amp, reactive load, into the interface, plug-in loaded up on the input strip, using it for IRs. And then I recorded a little bit, and then I played through the plug-in after that, with no amp. And it sounds really close. Actually, really does. Sounds great. So you guys can hear me okay and everything, eh? Good morning, and bear with me here, my voice is kind of messed up. I'm like, just back in LA and getting adjusted, jet lag, and I slept pretty good last night, but I'm super tired right now, and I've had like a pot of coffee, so I'm working on it. Pyro Pedal says, hey Pete, see you soon in England. That's right, I've got clinics coming up in Europe. They've just been announced recently, within the last couple of weeks. So I'll be at Peach Guitars in the UK, as well as I'm doing a few in Germany. And so you can check my Facebook page for more information, but that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So I'm really stoked to be going over there to do my recording and production for the Modern Guitarist clinic. Did a couple in Canada last fall, and that was really fun, and so I'm looking forward to getting over there and doing it again. We've got 61 people online. I assume it's going to take me a while to rebuild this because I've been slacking off and not doing this every week, so, but that's okay. We've got a smaller, intimate group, and I like that. That's easier. Get to all questions and stuff like that. Robert said, thanks for the gear rundown. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just knocked that video out really fast the other day at the second to last show, I guess, that we did in Fukuoka, Japan, and I'm glad people seem to be watching it. I seem to get lots of views, so that's cool. And Hello says, from the home of Wayne Gretzky. Is that me? I guess I am, sort of. Wayne's actually from Ontario, though, I think. He was born in Ontario, and then, of course, got picked up by the Oilers. And I think he played for, oh God, I can't remember now. But yeah, I think he was actually from Ontario. But thank you. Certainly we consider him from Edmonton in a way, for sure. Let's see here. Michael says, Pete, Guild Bluesbird and a Jackson Shred Machine both have Seymour Duncan JB and 59s. Why do they work for both? Maybe you just like the sound of those pickups. The JB kind of imposes its sound, I find, on whatever guitar that you put it in, because it's kind of a mid-range heavy pickup and it's fairly high output. So I would say that, especially when you get into the higher output pickups, you know, it's on like 05 and about 14K output. It's pretty hot, pretty meaty. It's going to make more guitars sound similar than, say, PAF style pickups, where you're really going to hear more. I find the lower output you go, the more sort of the character of the guitar comes through, and less the character of the pickup, if that makes sense. What are the plans for a new studio space? Still moving into a new studio space? Well, no, I haven't really made any plans yet. I'm trying to figure out actually a whole bunch of things after just getting back from Japan, what I'm doing with kind of everything. But I've still got my old space and stuff like that. And still doing that and working a lot in here. All this kind of like plugins and the reactive load and the UA aux and stuff has made it kind of a lot easier to record in smaller spaces and with less gear and stuff like that. So I'm considering my options just as far as like what you actually need these days to get work done. What's practical. I always want to be able to record cabinets some way, but do I really need to have a full blown like space where it just seems kind of like the Tim Pierce approach is really great. He's got in his garage a pretty good size built out kind of dog shed or whatever you want to call it, where he's got cabinets in there and it's big enough to move some air, but it probably takes up realistically like of a single car garage, it'll take up an 8-seater space or whatever. It's built well and it's big enough that you can put a 212 or 412 in there and move a little bit of air, but it's not so big that it's So ultimately, I would love to have something like that. And I love how Tim works, where his studio is in his home, much like mine is here, but it's more full blown. And I just like that way of working. You've got light. I like sitting here and playing, working on music and stuff, maybe more so than in the space that I have right now, because I've got windows and I've got light, and it's a nice place to sit and just play guitar and make music and stuff. So, and Tim has that, so I like that, and I'm just thinking about options. Live rig sounded so good, says Cyanide Junkie. Thanks for a great post. Thanks. I hoped it was going to sound okay because I just used the camera audio for that, and it actually ended up sounding pretty good. It's not distorted. It's just my Sony DSLR or whatever camera, and I only had like a half an hour to knock that thing out. So I was just like, I'll just use the camera audio, and however it sounds, it sounds. I didn't know if it was going to be distorted, and it's not. It actually sounds okay. It's not great audio, but you get the idea, I think, from the. We're speaking about the new rig rundown that I did for my gear, and it's on YouTube now on my channel. If you care to check it out. But yeah, I was really happy that it actually turned out pretty good, even with just the camera audio. Sometimes the best things are just when you use a phone or the camera, I guess, or whatever. Just knock something out quick and don't overthink it too much. I think what people really care about with those things is, it doesn't have to be like perfect audio necessarily. It just has to be like decent, and it's more about the kind of the quick and dirty presentation of what you're using and all that. It doesn't have to be like perfect lighting and audio and all that stuff. What are my thoughts on breaking in speakers? I'd say just play through them rather than you can do the Variac thing where you hook it up to a speaker and vibrates it and breaks it in. But just putting a couple months of playing time on them, and then they're fine. After that, how's the jet lag treating you? Says Mesa Bud. Jet lag is a funny thing. It's like it kind of creeps up. Like I usually do okay the first day and okay the second day, and then the third day it kind of like nails me. And so sure enough, like the other night I only slept till like 3:30 in the morning, and then I woke up. I was up from like 11:30 to 3:30, and then I was up, and I just stayed up all yesterday. Pretty feeling fried right now, even though last night I slept like probably 7.5 hours. It's just up and down for like a week, really. Kind of know, I'm used to it now. Like no way around it. It sort of like feels like when you get a bad cold or something, and then you just deal with it, and you're just like, I'm sick, but I gotta go to work. So it feels like about that debilitating to me all the time. It's sort of like I'm in it. Can't do anything about it. So here we go. Jesse says, where do you get your idea for stage fashion image from, or what goes into a good stage outfit for you? It's funny, a lot of the gigs I've had in the last 5 years, it's somewhat dictated a little bit by my employers, whereas it never used to be with other gigs I had. So the last few years, it's like you kind of got to fit in with what they want to do. So as long as that works, you kind of get an idea sometimes you get an idea of what they want, what they like, and then you could, beyond that, sort of pick your stuff. Or sometimes they just want to pick it for you. Like, you're going to wear this tonight. And it's like they're paying you, so it's like you kind of do it, you know? I'm to that point where it's just sort of a mix of both. Like, where I'll come up with stuff and people go, how about this? And you give them the 3 options. They go, well, that one's cool. I don't like that one. But it really is like that in the world I'm in. So, so yeah, I kind of pick a bunch of stuff, run it by them, make sure they're cool with it, and then it's a rock and roll gig. I mean, we basically look like we're Aerosmith up there or something. So, yeah. Let's see. Will we get a clip of you playing live in Japan? Well, and that's the other thing is many times employers, they want to, it's their gig, it's their show, and they don't necessarily want certain things to be up on the internet, or they want to approve that stuff. So I'm very, very, very careful about posting any kind of live clips. The other thing in Japan is that they don't really use phones. Like, you can't film at his shows, and people respect that. The audience doesn't have their cell phones out filming the whole time, which is great, because it's like the 70s or something. Everybody's just engaged in the music. And so that's cool. So there's not a lot out there from the gigs. And yeah, he doesn't really, the fellow I play with over there, he doesn't want you to put stuff up. So, so only kind of what ends up coming out officially is what comes out. Many artists that are, that started in the 60s, 70s, 80s, that's the way they want it. They want to have more artistic control over stuff, and they're not comfortable with the new sort of phones all the time, just everything getting uploaded and released all the time. It's a great discussion to have, actually, because it's like phones at concerts, filming things all the time, and then uploading things all the time. And it's like, does anybody watch any of that stuff after it's, after you put it on your phone? And does any, it's just kind of like, I sort of subscribe to the thinking like you should just remember it in your memory and don't. If you take a video or a photo of a show, it's like take 1 or 2 or whatever, and then put the phone away and enjoy the show. But I'm also not 24, so younger people see things different these days than we did. So I guess it all depends on the gig. What's my favorite Marshall for versatility? That's a great question. One that sounds good at all the settings. A good old plexi circuit can sound great, clean. Obviously, Hendrix. My favorite Marshalls really are that kind of like 67 through 71, 3 sort of era. And then using the volume control on the guitar to control the amount of drive. And with the Strat or a single coil Mac pickup or something, the volume down around 3 or 4 on the guitar, you can get it really clean, roll it up, and it's crunchy, and then you can hit it with a pedal. So it's incredible how versatile like a 68 plexi or something can be. You can kind of do anything beyond metal or old school metal you can do, but you can play clean on them and they sound great. That's just my favorite Marshall. As far as maybe something more, you're saying one that sounds good at all the settings. JCM 800s are deceptively versatile. When you use them in the high gain input with the preamp up, obviously they do the crunchy thing, but using them in the low gain input is a great way to hit it with pedals and get clean sounds. It's the Billy Corgan method, and also I did a video for TC recently where I used their old, great sounding like late 70s Marshall JMP, and I show using the low gain input with pedals and stuff. So maybe seek that out on the TC site, and you can hear how versatile that amp can be at all the different, actually go through the different settings, high gain input, low gain input, rolling it up and down. That's the simple one-channel Marshalls. For the kind of more I'm not really familiar with the newer. I think they sound pretty good from what I've heard, like the ones that Joe Satriani plays or whatever, the JVM or whatever. They seem to have pretty good, clean channels and stuff, but I don't really know. I haven't really used them that much. I used to have a DSL 50, and it was a good workhorse amp. The clean sound is pretty convincingly sort of JCM 800 or something. Clean channel, you could get a lower gain JCM 800 sort of sounds out of it. Yeah, Omar says, didn't realize you brought so many guitars to Japan. Yeah, generally it's because of all the tunings. And the gig really stylistically covers everything from single coils through to, hard rock. So kind of clean ambient stuff. Sometimes I'm doing patty, kind of swelly sounds and stuff. And then sometimes it's just full on rocking out and you need like full gain distortion kind of sounds. So, and yeah, and then the tunings, I've got guitars tuned down a whole step, I've got guitars tuned in E flat, I've got guitars in standard, and so with that and then the stylistic shifts, it requires a lot of instruments. Not, I mean, I can do it on, if I have 6 or 7 or 8 electrics and 2 or 3 acoustics, I can do the gig, but sometimes you want a little more variation than that, so I tend to bring about probably 8 electrics, something like that, and then usually borrow a couple there, so I've got 9 or 10 generally, and then have a couple 3 acoustic guitars as well. How much should a man spend on his haircut? I haven't spent anything on a haircut in at least a few weeks. It's getting unruly. That's a great question. You can spend whatever you want, man. Shave it. Don't spend anything. When are you coming to the 6? What's the 6? Sorry, I'm ignorant. I don't know. James says, gluten-free beer with your name on it when you come to the UK next month. I'm in. If you can hook me up with that in the UK, I will have one, definitely. Glad to have you back in my time zone, says Dennis. Thanks. Yeah, we've got 150 people here. That's not bad for being away for so long. I have to build people's trust again. I'm going to show up on Sundays, I guess. Can you use any drive pedal with the Moore? I guess you're talking about the radar. Yeah, something. I'm not really like a drive pedal isn't an amp, so you're going to want to use a pedal that's more like a preamp that's got some tone shaping in it. It can sound okay to just run an overdrive into a speaker simulator, but that would be the equivalent of running a distortion pedal into a power amp and then into a guitar cabinet. It's like, it's not going to, you're kind of missing out on all the things that an amplifier does. The Origin Effects Revival drive, which I have here at my feet, that's a little bit more of like a full-featured preamp style pedal, so something like that, or I would say at least maybe get one of those Tech 21 character series pedals, like the the Leeds and the Oxford and the they're like an amp sim in a pedal, basically, and something like that. Then feeding into the Moore for IRs would probably be really cool. You could set up the pedal, the Tech 21 pedal, to be kind of like your clean amp with EQ and stuff, and then hit that with an overdrive pedal, and then run the output of that into the radar, and you would have kind of a good simulated rig, I think. Did I use the Kemper? Did you use the Kemper pack of your amp? Is there a Kemper pack of my amp? I don't know. Did somebody do one? Bastards. Just kidding. I don't know if there's a Kemper pack of the PT100 or not. Who makes it? Somebody tell me in the thing here, and I'll seek it out. I have to try it. I have not. But I have my own Kemper profiles I made in my amp, so I use those. And of course, it's got the new plug-in that you heard me playing through. Started this if you were here. And that's the PT100 plug-in for UAD. And I love it. That just sounds incredible, I think. And Phil says, cool gear rundown. Thank you. Is it possible to just buy the IRs that you did for the amp plug-in? No, you got to get the plug-in with them. To be honest, the ones that I like the most, and I'm not sure if that was just that day. I think they're good, the ones that we did, but the ones that work the best for me are the ones they made of my cabinet in Germany. So those are the ones I'm recommending. I was really knocked out by the ones they made of. The perfect ones are the kind of around, in the UAD plug-in, around 76, 77, around those numbers, and it's the Sur PT212. Those are just perfect sounding IRs to me. So I've just been living on those because they're the ones that work the best to me with the plug-in. Really sound good. I didn't have a PT cab at my studio because they were all I have 2 of them and they were in Japan. So they said, well, don't worry about it. We're going to make the impulses of of your cabinet in Germany anyway. We sent them a cabinet and an amp to model, so, and they did such a good job. Any comment on tonal differences between the TP6 bridge and a 510? Is there any? What is the TP6 bridge? Sorry, I don't know what a TP6 is. Is that the new bridge I'm using and you know the name of it and I don't? That's possible. I'm going to look. TP6 bridge. Google. TP6 tailpiece. It looks like a stop bar from Gibson. It's a tailpiece though. So I don't know if that's the one you're talking about or not. Is it possible? Oh, sorry. You said did that question. Moving down a bit. Can you use any drive pedal with more? That's Brett again. Oh no, the chat jumped around. Sorry, finding my place here. Where was I? Can you use any drive pedal with the more radar? So I was already sort of answered that. I would use a preamp style pedal. That's from Brett. Something like the Tech 21 Character Series or something like that, and you could use that as your amp sound and then put a pedal in front of that. Wayne was born in Brantford, Ontario. That's right. I remember that now. Wayne Gretzky. If you had to gig with one combo amp, what would you choose? I would probably use, it's hard to say. I mean, there's all kinds I can think of that I could use with pedals and stuff, you know. A great rental, like if you got to rent an amp, is a 59 Bassman, like the Fender 59 Bassman reissue. You can set, they just sound good with a lot of different pedals. It's really versatile, I find. They don't get ice picky or bright with certain pedals. That's the sort of the Marshall lineage too. Those amps, those old Bassmans like that, basically became the JTM 45. So anyway, you can get like one of those Bassmans and rent them just about anywhere. The Tweed 410, and that's a pretty solid combo to gig with. But a twin can work. I'm just thinking about kind of, not sure if this is what you meant, but I'm thinking about rental backline kind of stuff. It's easy. A modern Fender twin, you're okay. A Mesa Lone Star is not a bad thing at all on the clean channel, and then hitting it with pedals. You have a really nice clean sound to those amps, I think. Even down. If you're up for a clinic in Sweden at These Go to 11, let us know. I would be totally down to that. Is that totally down for that? Is that a Sir dealer? Because I do them kind of in conjunction with Sir. Let's see. Paul says, after 15 years of playing in the 90s, went to open 8K pickups. Yeah, me too, I guess. Well, I have covers on mine, but they sound the same with the covers. The nickel covers. As the open coil. Really so close. Sound is super hissy, says Christopher. I've actually got I've got the CT100 plug-in. Oh no, but the noise gate's on, so shouldn't be that hissy. You're probably just hearing the fan on my computer. It's running full force because for some reason I'm using OBS. The plugin I use to stream, it kicks in the fan. It's taxing, so it just kind of is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. Sorry. Shitty computer. Stupid computer. Can you talk about your black guitar you put together? Are you talking about the one with the Floyd and the humbucker? The single humbucker. I didn't actually make that. I met the guy that made it, actually. I bought it off eBay, and he introduced himself at NAMM, I think, last year. And he basically what it is it's like an EVH, kind of like hard ash body and EVH neck. I think the neck's from Musicraft or something. And he aged it to look like Blackie, like more like Clapton's Blackie, but it's a Van Halen kind of guitar with original Floyd Rose, and it's got a Motor City second degree black belt pickup in the bridge. It's just how he made it. When I got it, I had to do a little work on it. The nut was too high, so I had to take it to somebody and kind of work on it. But it's a cool guitar. It's It's neat, especially for the Van Halen stuff. It really sounds like it's got that bright, snappy, I think it's the ash body on that guitar. It's just got that aggressive kind of like upper harmonic snap to it. It's really cool. Jesse says, what would I recommend as a clean sound pedal? Looking for something that would be close to Marshall Dumble Cross. Punchy and full with great articulation and presence with that loud compression. Clean sound pedal. But you mentioned Marshall and Dumble. I mean, like I said, the Origin, it's not a clean, but it's like kind of having a Marshall in a box. The Origin Revival Drive, it's basically like a preamp and a pedal. It's pretty awesome and really sounds like an amp. And I did a whole video on it, so you can check that out and watch some of the other videos on it. What else? The Ethos is sort of what you're describing. It was really Dumble based, I think. Check out the Ethos products, ETHOS. And I also did a video on my channel for that. It's a great kind of clean pedal preamp platform. Pedal preamp platform. Let's see, I have my Marshall and Fender amps on an AB switch, best of both worlds, and together it's killer. That's from Phil. Yeah, that's a classic way to, like using a super reverb and a Marshall together or something, AB and them for clean and dirty. It's kind of hard to beat. Really, it's a great sound. Space Charge Jam Track is such a great tune. Thanks. Yeah, I just made that so you could jam over it and rock out. That's on iTunes and stuff if anybody wants to grab one. The Pete Thorn Space Charge Jam Track. Any advice for a 50-year-old guitar player, this is Mike Pappas, who wants to try YouTube as a platform to share their love of guitars, pedals, and performing? The thing with YouTube is it's so saturated now, and there's new videos uploading all the time, so it's really competitive. But just do it for fun and try and do something creative and different. You have to do something. You have to have an angle, like something different than every other person out there that's doing it. And the one thing I can say is the more authentic and honest you are, and the more fun you're having, and kind of like just don't be too hi, I am so and so, and I would like to show you my guitar collection. Don't be like that. Just be like yourself, and don't try and be too perfect. Just have fun with it, and that seems to attract people if they sense that you're kind of comfortable and maybe you're funny or something, or like you're just you need to have a different. You need to do something different than everybody else in order to attract people. Come up with kind of an angle, and I view it as just kind of a challenge and to have fun, not like work. The YouTube thing for me is generally pretty fun. So like doing this, I love doing this. It's fun. Just sitting and gabbing guitar. Dan says, I'm finally going to get to see Paul Gilbert as he's doing a few USA dates at the end of September. Have you ever jammed with him? I took a lesson from him, so yes, I have. Just him and me one-on-one. He charges, and rightfully so, he should, but he charges quite a bit for lessons. I think it was $300. Which, he's Paul Gilbert, so he gets to do that. So I was happy to go pay him $300, and I went to his house. I don't think he lives here anymore, but he had a house in Hollywood. And I went over and he gave me a guitar lesson. It was really cool. Really fun. He's a super nice guy. Like super, super genuine, nice person. Great teacher. Yeah, don't know what else to say. I'm sure you'll have a great time going to see him. I love his, just his whole thing, his demeanor and the way he plays and his attitude. He's an inspiring guy, and you're absolutely right. He's a really sweet dude. Great person. Rock Camp 56 said, "Good day, Pete. Bought Pete Thorn 2. Awesome music. Thank you. Thanks for picking up the new album. It's out now. I appreciate it." Let's see here. Eric says, "Nice to see you back." Thanks, Eric. Any funny story from your trip to Japan? Glad to see you back. Funny story. God, I really have to think about it. So many fun times over there. The folks I work with are super funny. Okay, the MD um, over there, the musical director. His name is Seiki, and he speaks pretty good English, but it's still broken, and it's just really funny sometimes with the English he comes up with. So he would say things like, there was one part of a song that's kind of like spoken, where, you know, Tyoshi would talk to the crowd. So Seiki has to imitate that. He's our musical director, and when Tyoshi's not there, Seiki does his bits. So he would say, he would kind of, in the open space in the music, he would just talk and say really funny stuff, like, because with his broken English, it was hilarious. I don't even know if it's going to be funny, but he'd be like, I have a dream, and then he'd pause and say, I want a house with no housekeeping. It's not even funny, but maybe it's funny. He'd just come up with the funniest, like, one-liners. I have a dream. I want a simple life with no chaos. It was like broken English. It was great. So I enjoy that. I miss those guys are all my friends over there. They're like the Japanese band and crew and everybody just become such good friends, and they're awesome people, and I miss them. It's hard to come home after 3 months and you see people every day, and then all of a sudden that's over. You don't see them anymore. It's kind of a bummer. But great memories. I hope I'll be back over soon. Let's see here. Your 64 Strat in front of a Marshall Super Lead. What pedal would you use to boost? So the song Kyushu Blues from my new album is that combo, and I used the Shanks Fuzz for some of that track. You know, if you had to have anything, I would use a clon of some sort to boost. So like I use the Archer. I love that. That or a tube screamer type. I just did a video that I'm going to put up actually tomorrow, I think, of this guy, the new Sure, I can't believe I screwed that up. Sir Shiba. That's why I did it. Shiba, Sir Shiba Mini. There it is. And this pedal sounds really, really good. So I just did a video where I'm playing. I was just jamming over I don't usually do this. You know, I usually come up with my own jam tracks or whatever songs, and then I play over them. I found a great version of Shine On You Crazy Diamond on YouTube. So I downloaded that, and then I just jammed over it and made a little video of it. So I'm going to put that up tomorrow, but you'll hear this. And this is in front of the PT100, but that's very Marshall based. So great sounding drive. Really, really like this one. So that's a nice pick. But yeah, I would say if you get something like a Tumnus or an Archer, something clon based, or if you want something a little more tube screamer flavor, like this guy, or you know, something other similar to that, some kind of good fuzz, you know, fuzz face style fuzz, and you should be covered as far as good stuff in front of the Marshall. Ted says, we bloody missed you. Missed you too. Glad to be back. Thanks for tuning in. And have I tried any Hudson Electronics pedals? No, not yet. So much to try, so little time. Jason says, hey Pete, if I sent you my new signature drive pedal, JHP, made for me by Master Effects, would you try it out? I'd be happy to try it out. Sounds amazing through the Hedgehog 50. I'd love to try it. JJ says, is your Musicom Lab switching the channels on your amp via MIDI or a quarter-inch jack? Via MIDI. So it'll do both because it's got, you know, whatever you call it, switching outputs on it that you can program. There's 4 outs on it that you could use. A channel switching amp that uses a TRS style or quarter-inch jack type switching. But my amp's MIDI, so I just use MIDI to switch it. It's easier. It's actually the only way, because my amp, the PT100 only does MIDI switching. It doesn't have like a quarter-inch standard sort of foot switch. Okay. Just watched the live rig video, says Eden, or Eldon. Eden. Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Eden Shahar. You spoke about the Helix being a replica of all your presets. Can you make a video and compare the analog live rig versus the Helix backup presets? I could. It would take a while. It would be an extensive video. Yeah, I mean, they're not exactly the same, but they're just kind of close, you know. But yeah, I could probably at some point do something like that. My rig's all still in transit. And the Helix that I use over there is actually staying over there too, and I guess I have a backup of it on my computer. I made a backup of it, so I could theoretically load it into the Helix I have here and do something like that at some point. Dan says XTS Atomic through the clean channel of the PT100 sounded horrible until I hit the bright switch and it killed. I couldn't replicate without using the bright switch. Is the bright switch the secret? Yes. So certain pedals, I did that video on how to use distortions and how not to use distortions, or whatever I called it. It's in the Tone Secrets playlist on my YouTube channel if you want to watch. But certain pedals sound great with a bright switch or a bright cap on an amp, switched in or on, and certain other pedals don't. And then some pedals these days are getting pretty good at compensating for either brighter amps with bright caps or bright switch, or without, via a switch, or a master tone control that controls the top end of the pedal. The XTS Atomic was one pedal that sounds really, really, really great with the bright switch on, or a rather bright amp, and then I can almost replicate my amp's channel 2 almost perfectly using it. But with the bright off, it sounded kind of dark and woolly. Plexitone is the exact opposite. That pedal needs to go into a normal channel or something without the bright on, or otherwise it's just really searing. But sounds great into a more neutral, clean sound. So yeah, you nailed it. I found with the mids cut down to about 9 o'clock, treble and bass on about noon, and with the bright on my amp on, I could get a great distortion sound out of the XTS Atomic. It is a really good sounding pedal. It just wants to be run into a bright quarter tone, bright amp. Welcome back, says Mike Johnson. Got the new UAD Sur PT100 plugin, loving it. Got any other presets? I just made one this morning, actually, while I was playing, but you kind of, I don't know if it, would make any difference if I gave you any other ones. I think most of the ones that are in there, it's pretty basic. I mean, it's kind of like put all the knobs on 5 on the plugin and start from there. And just dial it in. I recommend, like I say, the cab sims up around 76 or 77, the ones they made of the PT cabinet. They just sound perfect to me. I would just live on those, and yeah, start with all the knobs on 5 and just tweak the taste. Generally, on the channel 2 on both the plug-in and the real amp, I would turn the bass down to about 4, mids on 5, treble on about 6, turn the bright switch on, and play with the feedback and presence. Generally, presence can be around 5 or 6. Feedback, I usually run on about 4, sometimes up a little higher. That's the sound. You turn the boost on and off for lead, or not. Vary the gain, obviously. Mess with the master. You can use the power dampening control, which is basically like just a master overall level control. Turn that down on the plug-in and then crank the master up, and you're going to notice the amp responds like power tube distortion. It thickens up and stuff as you get the master up above 3 or 4. The plug-in will clip if I've found if I don't use the power dampening control to turn down the overall volume as you're getting the master up real high. But you try it. Try and bring the master up on the channels, the channel master, and you'll hear the tone fill out and thicken up. It's pretty cool. It really is an amazing plugin, I think. How's about trying a Boss Katana in your room, direct record, but you hear it a la Justin and Rob Chapman? That's from Robert. What do you know? Like right now? Like for these videos or something? These live streams? Or just try it in general? I've heard nothing but good things about Boss Katanas. It's true. So they tell you to wear scarves and stuff. That's oscillation overdrive. No, that kind of stuff is just extra. But no, yeah, basically, so many gigs that you do, we're on talking about clothes again and what's appropriate for certain gigs. Many gigs that you do, they, if it's rock stars and stuff, their image is really important. They want to make sure their band looks like what they want, because it's kind of amazing. You would think, oh, well, it should be obvious, right? But sometimes it's not. Sidemen come in, and musicians, and the things that they would think that they should wear to play with a certain artist can be pretty out there, or just boring. So some of these artists, I mean, they're like, you think about playing. Imagine getting a gig playing with Steven Tyler or something like that. He's going to want you to look. He's used to playing with Aerosmith. He's used to playing with Joe Perry up there, who's got like, probably worth $15,000 of jewelry all the time to walk down to the bank, and looks like a rock star 24/7. So you kind of have to take that into account, and they want you to look cool up there. So whatever cool is in there, whatever their version of that is. So it can be the pop gig I did in 2013 with a French artist. We actually had outfits that we had to wear. Like she does costume. It's more like imagine, okay, that's like getting a gig with Madonna or something, and everybody on stage is. I guarantee you, when you do those gigs, it's like pretty much spelled out what you have to wear. Sometimes it's custom tailored for you, and you've got a stage outfit, and that's many pop gigs are like that. It's true. Can you do a video more in depth on your Musicom lab, says JJ Kane? Thinking about buying one, and there doesn't seem to be many videos out there. Would be great. Yeah, I mean it's really. It would be to be honest. No, I don't want to. The only reason is I don't really make instructional. Like those are videos that I feel like the manufacturer should make, and I don't get into doing that kind of like here's how the channel switching works on when you use the control outputs on a Helix or something. That's like stuff for I just want to play music. So. If it's creative, then I do it. So I don't really want to get into those technical kind of videos. Here's how to implement the MIDI on a such and such. I kind of tend to avoid those. It's just I'm just not. Once I start doing things like that, then I feel like I'm a product specialist working at Roland or something. Like tech support. I don't want to do tech support. Not at this point. I'm too grumpy. Do I seem grumpy? I am, believe it or not. Let's see. Yesterday I copied Big Mistake acoustic solo. Amazing lick. Thank you. That was a fun one. Big Mistake's the last song off of my first solo album, and I cut the solo on. I don't know if anybody out there remembers, but I made these videos years ago for a company called Green Guitars, and they're a high-end store that sells. Instruments made by luthiers from all over the world, but like really, really high-end guitars. And it was an amazing thing because they sent me all these guitars. They said, we want you to make some videos for some of our guitars and do what you do. And I said, okay. So they sent me 5 guitars, and they all showed up in FedEx one day at my place at the time in Santa Monica. And I unpacked these guitars, and they were like $10,000 each. Like some of them were 9, and some of them were 12. So it was like 60 grand of guitars just showed up on my doorstep from FedEx one day. Like, oh my God, like I was nervous about them even being in my house, but just breaking them out of the boxes, it was like Christmas, like just getting to play those guitars for a couple of weeks while I had them around my place. And then I was kind of glad to see them go, because it was like, get these out of here, I don't want anything bad to happen to them. But anyway, one of the guitars that showed up was made by a Japanese luthier, and I don't remember his name, but it sounded gorgeous, really amazing sounding guitar, and that's the guitar I played on Big Mistake. I was cutting the song at the time. I was like, I should play an acoustic solo in the bridge. This guitar sounds amazing. I'll just mic it up and knock it out. So that was that guitar. Really high-end, beautiful instrument made by a Japanese luthier. The other guitar that really stood out, well, there was 2. Kathy Wingert. She's an amazing luthier. I think she lives here somewhere in the LA area. But she made a really beautiful guitar. I think I played the Rain song on it or something, but in the video. This is a video 6-7 years old, but you can watch these Green Guitars videos I made if you want, if you're interested. But the other one that I really remember, out of the 5, there's 3. The Kathy Wingert one, the Japanese one, and also a Beneteau baritone acoustic with fanned frets. It's a longer scale on the low string. That was the one guitar, if I could have any out of them, that it just sounded like a piano. It was amazing. So there's a video of me playing the Beneteau fan fret baritone. Check it out if you get a chance, and you'll hear what it was such an amazing sounding guitar. Really, really great. Oscillation Overdrive says, I thought we saw you playing on Instagram. I think you're talking about me posting videos from the... Yeah, actually, we did post a couple things, and then I actually kind of quit because somebody said, be careful about what you post from the show. So they were just like cell phone videos or something that people had taken, and then I stopped because I don't... Their main concern with posting videos from the shows I was doing in Japan is YouTube. So I didn't post anything on YouTube from the actual gigs, unless it's, approved by the boss. So I'm pretty careful about that. I don't want to make them mad. Ted says he contacted Sir a while ago, and they gave me your signature wiring, I guess, for the guitar. After months now, the guitar with that wiring is still my fave, and I want to incorporate it with a single hum guitar with on-off for middle. That's a good idea. Versatile switcher, for sure. The Chief says, Pete, welcome home, Doug, the Reg Rundown. I think Premier Guitar Guys should have done one with you by now. They asked me at one point if they could do one, but the thing is they really only do them in Nashville, I think. So you have to be touring through Nashville, and then they'll come by and do a Reg Rundown. I just haven't been back to Nashville to play. Not in years, because all my gigs are in Japan and stuff. So, new addition to the clan here from Western Canada, says Michael. I've just discovered your Pete Thorn 2 LP. Discovery of the decade for me. Oh, thanks, man. That's an amazing compliment. I'm glad you like the new record. I am. It's really exciting to have it out there. There are a number of clips of PT playing in Japan. Even the 2018 tour has clips. Just search YouTube. I haven't actually looked. Is there? I should go look and try and find some. See if there's any out there from the shows. Probably a few people are pulling their phones out and uploading that stuff. But yeah, generally they're not supposed to. Let's see. Nightwish does a really great intro to their live shows about putting away your phones. Really, is that a band called Nightwish? It's kind of a good idea. Ask people politely at the beginning, like, maybe you shouldn't have your phone out. Christopher says, I'm into gear and practicing. I love playing guitar all the time. Your lady says you're diddling. Diddler. We're all diddlers. Am I forgetting this is about making music? How can I change my focus to making music? That's actually a really good question. I know what you mean, and sometimes the thing with gear, all this gear, new stuff, is we end up turning knobs and kind of tweaking sounds more than anything. And I remember reading a post from a guy on the gear page that said that, he used to use an amp and a few pedals, and then he got the axe effects. And his wife made the observation a couple months after he had gotten it. She said, you used to play, now you just kind of turn knobs and mess around, like you're diddling around, She's like, yeah, I just used to hear you play music, and now you're just kind of like tweaking sounds. That struck him, I think, and it also struck me as well. It can happen when we've got these devices that are so deep, and you can do 40 million things with them, you end up playing with the tones a lot. I remember having a Mesa Mark III amp, and sitting down to practice one day, and 45 minutes later feeling like I was still dialing the knobs. And I realized I wasn't really playing, and it struck me then. This was in the 90s. It was like, man, what am I doing? I'm not actually practicing. I'm playing less since I got this thing. It's got a million knobs on it. So I guess you just be aware of it and, sit down, set up a sound, and, be good with that. I like I've brought this up before, but I remember reading a Tom Morello interview where he said that at some point he realized that gear was a rabbit hole that he didn't want to go down. And that's why at one point in the 90s, before Rage became huge, he had his JCM 800 amp and his PD cabinet and 5 pedals taped to a pedal board, and he just turned the knobs on the amp and turned the knobs on the pedals until it sounded good as it could. He's like, it's not the best gear in the world, but it sounds decent. And he's like, okay, that's it. That's my sound. And then he just committed to that. and obviously wrote a lot of great classic riffs and tunes, and didn't get bogged down in gear beyond that. I like that. I thought that was a cool, you know, grass is always greener. I get to try a lot of gear and try a lot of stuff, with the downside being I can end up sitting and just tweaking tone and not really playing that much guitar for extended periods. So you got to achieve a balance, I guess. Yeah, Christopher, maybe take her advice or that observation to heart, and maybe just sit down with the intent of practicing, but also maybe write a song or pull up a jam track and just play over it. Work on your improvising, and just forget about tone for a couple hours. Just commit to not worrying about it. Okay, moving down. Greenback and a Greenback 75 and a 212 cabinet. That's a question from Robert. Is that a cool combo? Give it a try. The Greenback 75s, when we were doing the PT 212 cabinet, we tried the combinations of Greenback 65 and 75, which is kind of like Greenback. We didn't want to use a Greenback because the PT 100 is a 100-watt amp. So Greenback 25-watt speaker, you blend that with a 75-watt speaker, and you're right on the verge of it's not quite enough. It's not enough power handling for the amplifier. We needed to look at higher power speakers, but we tried the Greenback 65, which is supposed to be kind of like a Greenback, but higher power handling. It's got the smaller magnet. So smaller magnet, bigger magnet blended in the same cabinet. And we just decided this 275 sounded the best. We listened to V30s as well. We listened to V-Type. We listened to some other selections. And the 275s were, it was just like, it was kind of like a no-brainer. We just heard it, played clean channel, dirty channel. And I looked at John. I remember we were in his office, and I just said, it's all there. Like, it sounds perfectly balanced to me. And those speakers still sound really good to me. They're just really, really good cross-section of all the way from clean to dirty. So yeah, you try, different strokes for different folks. You might want to blend the two. I would recommend trying maybe the Greenback, or try the Greenback Neo blended with a 75 maybe, because it's a higher power speaker. The Greenback Neo is a 60-watt speaker, I think, or something like that. So 212 it'll give you a little higher power handling than an old Greenback. And I think the Greenback Neo is a great sounding version of a Greenback. It's really the speaker they designed to sound like a Greenback, but a Neo higher power speaker. And I'm actually excited to try a couple Greenback Neos in new cabinets that we're working on. What do I think about the rig rundown with Bonamassa that just came out? 2 Dumbles and a bunch of tweeds. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't have time to watch the entire thing, but I did watch it actually. Yeah, I mean, that guy, I mean, he's a great guitar player, and he likes to do his thing. He loves blending amps. I think whatever makes you comfortable, I mean, he seems to be able to afford the gear, and if he can have 4 amps up there and turn them up, I'm sure he was talking a lot about the feel, and how he uses the Plexi Shield so that he can turn the amps up, get the feel that he wants. He seems to sound like him through no matter what he plays through. I'm sure he would sound great through 2 tweed amps and that's it. Or, I guess he plays here a lot at Baked Potato and stuff, and I think he's used the Jim Kelly amp, and probably sounds exactly like him. So, he has the thing about Joe that I really admire about his playing is he has a lot of articulation and control in his hands. When he really inspires me to work on my technique when I see him play, and he just seems to have so much. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of authority in his picking and in his playing. Like when he's phrasing and stuff, it's like a lot of clarity coming through on the notes and stuff like that. His picking seems flawless, and he's very musical as well. So whatever works. I mean, it's a lot of amps, but obviously like he said in the video, he goes, it's a guitar show you're coming to see. So great, it's like, why use less amps? It's like Ingve when you go see him, and the drums are pushed off in the corner, and the whole amp the whole stage is Marshalls. You're going to see that. You know? It wouldn't be the same without it. So I think he should have Dumbles and Tweeds and whatever he wants up there. Has Isaac Cappy asked you to play on his album? I don't know who that is. Sorry. I'm not sure. How did your gear hold up during the gigs? Perfectly. I didn't have one single problem. Knocked on something. Didn't want it to happen next time. I just knocked on something that's fake wood. But that wasn't James Green. Yeah, I didn't have a single tube issue or wireless or even a cable go bad. It was really flawless, this tour. Sorry, I'm getting tired. It's time for my nap. Too soon. Jet lag. It's a bitch. George says, welcome back. Will your trip to England for your clinic at Peach coincide with GitCon? Actually, no. So I go to England and Germany and do some clinics, come back, and 2 weeks later turn around and go back to Germany for GitCon. Some people were suggesting I just stay over there, but maybe I don't think so, though. I think I'll come home and do some more work in LA and then go back again, just to continue the jet lag train all the way through the fall. Also, any plans for a clinic at Cosmo Music in the Toronto area? I was supposed to do one earlier this year, and then it didn't happen because of the Japanese tour. I couldn't go to Cosmo because I had to leave for Japan already. So it's too bad. So I'm sure it'll happen at some point. They've expressed interest, and I'd love to make that happen. Robert says, love the new CD. Thanks, Robert. Do I track through headphones when recording or through monitors? Which Sony headphones do you use? I do both. Sometimes I prefer headphones. You know, I like to mix it up as far as listening, monitoring, speakers, and then sometimes headphones. I don't know why. Sometimes I just like tracking through headphones. It's more right there when you're trying to get maybe an intricate rhythmic part or something. There's no distance between you and the speaker. You just hear in headphones. I know bass players like using headphones too. Maybe it's like something like really lock. Using them. They're just 7506s. Yeah, MDR 7506s. They're about $100, I think, or 90 or something. Pretty much anywhere guitar sound. Classic. They're not the best sounding headphones in the world, but I'm very comfortable with them. I can actually mix on them. They're kind of bright and they don't have a lot of bass, but it's almost like it's like an NS10 version of a headphone. I feel like I know how they're supposed to sound. Whereas when I get on other headphones and you might technically have more fullness or bass or be flatter or something, but I can't tell what I'm hearing. Like I could start dialing in a guitar sound and go, well, I'm making it sound good on these headphones, but I don't have any idea how it will translate to other systems. Whereas with the Sonys, I know how to mix. I know what the right amount of bass and highs and stuff that I should put into a guitar sound or whatever. Does that make sense? Like, you know, I know how to make them translate onto other stuff. I've mixed on them, like when I go on the road and I have to do video demos or whatever, and on the speakers, I'll mix through those, and then it always ends up sounding pretty good, I think. So, it's all about what you're comfortable with. Isn't it expensive to travel with that much gear? Well, it's not my dough. You know, the artists they have a budget for carting gear and flying things around, or sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're like, nope, we got to do this. I've gone over there without bringing my guitars. I've just flown with my pedal board or flown. You know, if it's a one-off, they don't want to cart everything over there. So I'll borrow guitars, maybe fly with 2 or 3 and borrow the rest over there. I did gigs like that in Japan last year. We sent my amps there last year, and the amps, so my 2 P2100s and cabinets, they stayed there all last year through to now. They've been there over a year. With the kind of the intention that, okay, there's going to be a tour this year, this summer, the one we just did, also some one-offs last year, so they agreed to, said I want my amps to just be there, so I'll send them. You don't have to send them back and forth. You can keep them all year. So that's what we did. And then I would just fly with my effects and my guitars. And then for the full tour, we did another cartage and sent all my guitars over, and now everything's coming back. So now that the work's done for a while. says, happy to have our ambassador of tone. Thank you. The chief says, how do the PTs hold up? Do they ever crap out? They never crap out. Okay, so the one issue, I've had tube problems, but that's tubes. That's nothing you can do about that. Like maybe JJs screw up sometimes and they wear out. So generally, if something goes wrong on a SUR amplifier, it's the tubes, because tubes are fallible. The one problem that I had at one point was it was a really humid summer, and my amps went from Japan to Hawaii, and I did a gig with Don Henley in Hawaii. And then when my amp came back to the States, one of the effects, it was cutting out. And what they isolated it to was corrosion in one of the effects return jacks, which is normals so that when the effects loop is switched in, but you've got nothing plugged into it, you can use the back master as a master volume, so that the loop's in, but it's normal to the. If that makes sense. You're running through it, but it's, you don't have to have anything patched into it. So with nothing patched into it, it was cutting out, and it was something to do with the corrosion, and we figured it was from all the humidity the amp had been through, being in Japan, a hot summer, and then also going to Hawaii, moisture. That's the only problem I think that I've ever had beyond one power tube failure where the amp blew a fuse, and then I've had some preamp tube failures. I've had to go through and isolate which one it is. And I'll just call John and tell him what the problem is, and he'll go, check the fourth tube from the right. I'll pull it out and put in another one, and that fixes it. And it's amazing how he knows that stuff for every time. You can pinpoint it over the phone. It's wrong usually, but that's why he overbuilds them. If you look at the inside of a SUR amp, it's a thing of beauty. They're super well made, and they generally don't crap out. Ever considered growing a beard? I had one years ago. 2015 was the last time. Holly Henderson said, what muffins do you want when you come to the UK? Well, I want gluten-free, and beyond that, you can pick. You pick. You make me my muffins, damn it. Let's see. Ted says, do you find certain guitars prefer certain tunings? I mean, some respond better to tunings other than standard. Like some guitars, you can drop into D or something. It's like, well, the guitar still sounds great. And other ones are just like lose all their articulation, kind of crap out. I've had my old Strat in E flat for like 10 years. It never changes. Just leave it in E flat. Sounds great. I don't know. I mean, beyond standard tuning, it's like I guess that's my take on it. Some guitars will respond better to other tunings than others, but let's see what else. BV Ninja, they're talking about Paul Cochran, the Timmy as compared to a Jan Ray and stuff. I don't know anything about that stuff, so I stay out of it. Similarities between pedals and certain ones, or copies of other circuits or things. I have no idea. I don't know. Let's see. Loads of background hiss, says Krish. Yeah, I can't do anything about it. It's from the, I need to get enough gain on the microphone, and then my computer's doing that, and that's what you're hearing. I'll listen to it later. I don't have an engineer here in another room, listening to the feed, so I'll listen to it later and see if it's something else, but I don't really think it is. I think it's just okay, does that help? Oh, maybe I had, 1 second here. Sorry guys, I think I had the cable unplugged from the amp modeler that I have plugged in right now, and that kind of screwed things up. And then there's also a lot of hits, but I think that's just coming from the microphone. So sorry, I hope I just eliminated some of the noise. I'm stupid. Apologies. I've also got a compressor. on the microphone right now, and that's probably not helping the hiss. But the rest of it, you're really just hearing the fan on my computer. It's so loud. Sorry. I'll try and get it together better for next time, next week. Work on the sound a little bit. Chris says just talk louder. I would, but I'm tired, dude. I think I'm gonna go and try and get some more sleep. I'm still just jet lagging. What gear did I buy in Japan? Says Joe. Nothing this time. I managed to not get anything, which I felt glad about that because I've got some financial obligations this fall and stuff like that, and things I'm working towards. So I'm trying to not buy gear right now. It's just, you know, I managed to get out of Japan without buying any vintage guitars or anything like that this time, so I was pretty proud of myself. I almost bought an old Strat, a refinned 69 Strat, and then I talked myself out of it. What are my favorite Tele pickups? I really like the Ron Ellis Tele pickups. They're a little hard to get, but man, do they ever sound good. They really sound amazing. So check those out if you get a chance. You probably won't. It's really hard to get his pickups, so you know it's difficult. Seymour Duncan makes some really nice ones, and John has a new set as well that I haven't tried yet, that I really want to try. Some of the new Sir. He's got a neck pickup that's brighter, and the problem with Tele pickups is many times the neck pickups just suck. I find, whereas Ron sounds phenomenal. It sounds really amazing. So. I want to try John's as well. Try some of John Sir's new ones. But okay. Have I ever had a guitar break, or have I destroyed a guitar before? I think I smashed one once, a cheap one, outside of a music store I used to work for, because it was broken. So we just decided to break it on the pavement and see what that felt like. Why do I run the Mobius in mono and not stereo? I used to, really it's just because there's some crossover there with the H9. So most of the things that you would do stereo with a Mobius, I can do on an H9, like rotary, for example. And I've got two H9s in the loop already of my amp, and like the amps, so I can use those for the stereo stuff. The Mobius I tend to use up front for more like swell, univibe, filtered sounds, and stuff like that. I'm not doing too much like stereo chorusing and stuff like that with it. I leave that for the H9s, even though the Mobius is great at that stuff. But the thing that the Mobius is also really good at is vibe and wah, like touch wah sounds, and filtered weirdness and stuff. And you don't need stereo for that. So that was my thinking. I'm going to devote the Mobius to the front end of the rig, go in front of the amp, not in stereo, and it'll do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Favorite wah pedal? Oh, you're gonna hate my answer, but the first thing that came to mind, I guess it's the BBE. It was the Vertex wah. You guys know that whole controversy, Vertex and selling the wah pedals and all that stuff. You know, he was rebranding them. Putting a sticker on them, but basically they were just a stock BBE wah, which, so the one that he picked to copy is an amazing sounding wah pedal. I love the sound of it. It was the Axis wah, I think it was called, he called it. But whatever the BBE equivalent is, that's a great sounding wah. Really, really good. Now, I use a Dunlop Mini Crybaby because I need a small pedal on my pedal board, and it sounds great. It's fine. I'm not a wah connoisseur, really, but I also really like that John Petrucci Dunlop wah. It's really throaty. I know it's highly adjustable. It's different things you can get in and tweak different parameters. But that wah sounds really, really good to me. And then I used the EVH wah for a long time. I kind of try all kinds of different ones. But the Axis is the one that really I remember as having a really great sound from Vertex, and that's just what BBE wah is all it was. It's a stock BBE wah pedal. So, and I think you can get them for about $90 or something. What's my favorite low-cost guitar that I own and enjoy playing? Well, I mean, I guess the Kit Strat I bought, that guy, you know, the black one with the single humbucker and the Floyd, that's a great guitar that was about $1,000 on eBay. So it wasn't expensive. I don't really have a lot of like low-end guitars, I guess. But that guitar didn't cost me a lot, so it's just a parts adapter. How does the money thing work when you're a hired guitar band member? Do you get paid an industry standard amount, or do you have to negotiate yourself with every artist? It's the latter. No two gigs are the same. They're all different, and there is no standard. There's no union for us. There's no nothing. So it all comes down to every single gig is different. Per diem, money, whether you get paid per gig, whether you get paid different rate on travel days than you do on gig days. Get paid by the show, get paid by the month, get paid by the tour. It's like no two of them are the same. And that's the truth. And Joe says, Rhett Scholl, what? A live stream with Pete and Rhett in the house. Two of YouTube's most engaging guitar folks in one place. Fantastic. What's up? What's up, Rhett? Have you ever considered making reviews of guitars and amps? You're right, I mostly do pedals. And the reason is because I have a signature guitar and a signature amplifier. So I've thought about opening it up and doing some more stuff but it is sort of like on a, from an ethical standpoint, I haven't, because I have a signature product, so out of respect to Sir, it's like, well, there's plenty of pedals out there and other things to make videos about. So I kind of stick to that. But I wouldn't mind at some point, just, I don't think it would be, I think, guys like, Rob Chapman or whatever, he's got his own line of guitars, right? But he also makes guitar videos for different guitars, or what are some different people that do it? I like Wampler, he sells pedals and he talks about all kinds of pedals and gear on his channel. So I don't know that it matters so much anymore, but we'll see. I've got so many pedals to get to for videos that it's it's endless no matter what. There's not enough time to just do the pedals. I'm going to go soon, you guys, in about 8 minutes. I'll go with you about an hour and 20. What bass guitar do I use to make my videos? Do you use a DI or Sans amp? So back there is a, you don't know, but I've got a P bass that's just my friend John Button lent me, that he made. It's got a 60s P body that he bought off of eBay, and then he just got a warm-off neck for it from an EMG pickup in the bridge. He lent it to me like a year and a half ago, and just said, just keep it, I'm not using it. And that is a great sounding P bass, so much better than the other one I had, which was just a cheap, sort of mid-90s Mexican-made P bass that I used for years, and always struggled to get a good sound out of. And then I got his, and I was like, oh, my bass sucks. So, but I'd really love to get an old one. I really, really want to buy like a 65 P bass, an original one. I just love them, and they're sort of affordable still. So I'd love to get a vintage P. I think I'm getting a Warwick. I ordered one last year at GitCon. Long story, there's a mix-up with the order, so I never got it, but they're making it for me now. So I think I'm going to have a Warwick bass pretty soon, because I always like the sound of those, both the kind of similar, the Warwick and then the Spectre basses from the 80s. You can see, I think Sting used Spectres for a while. And anyway, they kind of sound like a piano, like real pure, very different than like a P bass or something, which is a more like thuddy kind of mid-rangey thing. When we're talking about hi-fi basses, I kind of like that sound. So I'd love to have one of both, like an old P and then the Warwick. I'll have that probably in a few months. Explain the stereo effects loop to hook up that makes one of your amps react like a power amp. So that's Mike, and he's just, I think, referencing my gear breakdown video that I put up where I was talking about using the two PTs together. So what you do is, if you run an effects send out of your amplifier, you go into a pedal that will do stereo, but you go just into one input, mono in, right? Effects send into the pedal. Then you've got stereo outputs out of that pedal. You can take one output out of the pedal and run back into your effects return of amp 1, and you can take the second output and run it into the effect return of a second amplifier. And now you will get stereo. So you're using the preamp of the first amp going into the pedal, splitting in the stereo, going back to the return of two amplifiers, and you're going to hear the sound come through both amplifiers. The first amp serves as both the preamp and power amp for one side of stereo, and the other amp is just the power amp for the second side of stereo, but it's going to have the same sound, right? Because you're running the preamp into it from the first amp, if that makes sense. And that's how a lot of, like, Steve Lukather runs his rig like that with two Bogners these days, just, splitting in the stereo and using the loops. Okay, what's the difference in sound between Tortex and Ultex? I don't know about the difference in sound, it's more of a feel thing. I never sort of really bonded with the Tortex picks in the way that they feel. I prefer the Ultex. I'm sure there is a difference in sound, but I've never really listened to more. Just know how they feel when I hold them, but I prefer that Ultex stuff. Best moderately priced mic preamp. The Maris. It's called the 440. It's only about $400 and something, I think. $400 to $500. And yes, it's 500 series, so you need a 500 series rack to power it. But there's some inexpensive ones of those on the market that you can get, even just like single chassis or like one rack space that'll power 500 series modules. The Maris is a great guitar preamp. It's basically like an API style pre, but it's got some really cool stuff for guitar players, including a pedal level effects loop in the front. So you can, like for instance, like mic up a plexi with it or something, and then run a delay pedal or something. You're running a post amplifier. You're running it on the after the microphone. You're sending from the microphone out to the pedal and then back in, and then so it's really versatile with the effects loop in it. Really, really unique, cool mic preamp, and not expensive. Do I like mini humbuckers? Not a lot of experience with them, to be honest. I don't have enough experience to really comment. I've often thought about buying old, like a Les Paul Deluxe or something, but I've never owned a guitar with a mini humbucker, so I can't really comment. That's one pickup, along with P90s. I have one guitar with P90s now, but I don't have a great perspective on P90s. Like, what's the best? I know I love their sound, and I borrowed a couple of Les Pauls, and SG Special that I borrowed once that had P90s in it. It sounded amazing. I think I used it on the original SL68 video that I did. Really great sounding guitar. That was the Scumbag fellow, Jim. He lent me his guitar, Scumbag speakers. Yeah, it was like a 62 or 3 SG Special. What a great sounding guitar. But don't have a great perspective on what the different aftermarket P90s and stuff. I have no idea. Hoping to see some videos with you and Rick Vito at GitCon. Yeah, I will definitely do a whole bunch of videos with all the different folks that are going. Can you explain how to add a MIDI pedal into the signal chain and amp like the Hughes & Kettner Grandmaster 40? A MIDI, what you mean? That's from David Nyberg. You mean how to switch the amp using a MIDI pedal, or not sure your question? Sorry, if you can tell me if you mean you want to use a MIDI switcher or you want to use a pedal that has MIDI, like a Strymon timeline or something. I'm just not sure. Paul says, good morning from England. Do you have a preference for flight cases when touring? For guitars in particular, I really like those I-Series SKB now. So you can get them at, like Sweetwater or whatever in the US. I'm not sure about England, but you'll be able to get those cases, no problem. They're a great, great case for the money. They're waterproof. Like the latch is actually, like, you can throw the thing in the ocean and it'll float and won't, they're really, really terrific hardshell case that has wheels in the end and a handle, so you can like roll it if you're walking through the airport or something. I have no reservations about those. I bought one years ago. It's really great. So readily available. You can order one. You don't have to get a custom flight case or anything, and relatively light. For amps and stuff, they might have stuff too now. I don't know, maybe SKB, but I hate road cases. And like such a, they just take up space and they're so expensive. That said, I always ordered here in LA from either Dragon cases or A&S. If you need a custom case, they'll make you a great one, whatever you need. Tiki Bar road case. It's fantastic. That I want. There's one road case I can get behind. Have you tried the Blue Yeti mic? I have not. I have not. It addresses the gain situation you mentioned. Oh, interesting. Well, maybe I need one then. I guess I need to get a different microphone for doing these live streams specifically. I'll look into it. Something that's like maybe like an audio interface microphone that doesn't have these problems. More amps in the zone, please, so as to remain respectful to Mr. Sir. A win-win. Yeah, I do those. You're right. Vintage amps and stuff. Those are amp videos that I've made. Retarded says, welcome home, going through, replacing and upgrading all my cables. Do I have any cable horror stories you'd like to tell? Once I tried to wire a TT patch bay. TT is like the old sort of professional studio standard. It's a very, very small balanced cable that has kind of looks like somewhere between a 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch style cable. And studios would use them, put a lot of patch points on one patch bay using TT cables. And you would wire them in the back. A competent tech would go through and solder the whole patch bay. And I tried to do that myself once. And I spent probably a week on it, and then it was beyond a mess. And then somebody came in, a professional guy that did the studio wiring, and he looked at it, and the look on his face was, I was humiliated, put it that way. He just kind of shook his head and started over and cut it all off. Started again. Cables. I hate cables. Bane of my existence. If I could have a total wireless studio, I would. I recently moved into the Carlos Santana camp, using more gain out of my amp rigs. What are your thoughts on treble bleed circuits? That's from Philip. Treble bleed, you mean on guitar pots, like a volume pot and treble bleed, so you can get clean up but keep the high end? I use that. I mean, all my Sirs have treble bleeds in them, including my signature guitar. So I'm okay with it as long as it's the right, check out whatever Sir does, because I really like their treble bleed circuit. Okay, gotta go in a sec here. Brendan says, do I know Michael Eisenstein? I do indeed, yeah. He lives somewhere around here. I used to see him a lot. In the LA area, we'd go to some of the same places and stuff. So he's a super nice guy. Really, really good guitar player. What's the correct way to run a wet, dry, wet rig? Wet, dry, wet rig. There's different ways to do it. Correct is, all in the eye of the beholder. I mean, there's different ways to do it. You can take the output out of the amp and go into a line-out box, something like the Sir line-out box, which will take a tap off the speaker output and pass the signal through to your dry cabinet through that box, and then it's got a knob on it and a line level out, and just drive an effect or whatever using that. Go into your effects and then use a power amp and 2 other cabinets. That's one way to do it. You can also mic your amplifier using a mixer or something, and then do it more like you would do in the studio, where then you take the send out of the mixer, run out to effects, so now you've got the mic'd signal. This is the old Landau way of doing it, studio way. Mic up the amp using a mixer. Microphone plugs into the mixer, and you take that mic signal, turn up the send on a channel, run the send out to your effects, take the returns back into the mixer, and now you've got and then you get a stereo effect signal. You can, of course, do that with multiple different effects if you want to, and blend them in parallel or in series. Turn up the return and then mix that, and then you can give the 2 outputs, line outputs of that to, if you're in the studio, you just send that right to the, here you go, to the recording engineer. Here's my sound with the effects blended in and everything. So that was one way to do it. And you used to see certain people like Larry Carlton, comes to mind, Eric Johnson, I think did this for a minute, but they were running like wet, dry, wet, where you'd see like powered monitors on stage. I think Larry used to use like JBL monitored cabinets. And so he'd be micing the amp and doing it that way, but then he'd take the output of the mixer, run just the wet effects into into some PA cabinets and have his effects coming out like that. So there's one way to do it. The Scott Henderson way to do it is completely different. I think he uses a Sir line-out box, runs it into a Boss stereo effect thing, and he takes the or mono effect. Actually, he uses a mono output out of the effect, and he runs it into a Fender combo amp. So he's got his SL100 head, 412 cabinet, Sir line-out box on the output of the head. It's taking the tap. Sorry if I'm getting out in the weeds here. I'm seeing the viewer count go down. This is probably getting boring, but uh, so he takes the tap off the head and runs into his effects. This comes mono out of the effect right into the front end of a combo amplifier and just turns it up a little bit and then blends in that. So it's a very lo-fi way of doing actually running the delay and reverb into a combo amplifier and then just turning it up a little bit. And then he's got the full EQ of that little Fender combo to kind of EQ his effects signal. And I believe he runs the effects 100% wet. But I was like, does that work? And then I heard it and I was like, that sounds great. Like, it was actually really cool. So the correct way, I guess, moral of the story is there's no right or wrong. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. I mean, there's certainly wrong, but there's multiple different right ways to do it. If you watch the Scott Henderson, Tim and Pete guitar show video, you'll see him describe it in detail and actually demonstrate it. So you can check it out on that video if you like. I really liked his way because it was so kind of lo-fi, and yet it made total sense to me. And I was like, this is cool. I've kind of wanted to try it ever since he showed us that. Okay, I'm going to move down really fast here. I'm going to get going in like 2 minutes, but just take a couple more questions. Aaron's asking about the amp. Pete Switcher asking about Henning Poly. Is it speaker out of power amps into one cabinet? So with the amp switcher, you can run multiple heads into multiple cabinets. You could run 4 heads into just one cabinet if you want. You're switching, obviously, only using one amp at a time. But basically, it's like a matrix. You can plug your amplifiers into it and plug your cabinets into it and switch what you want on at any time. So you could have 2 speaker cabinets that you like to play through in the studio, have them mic'd up all the time, and then have 4 heads or something like that. You're plugging into the amp and just picking which amp you want to use and which cabinet you want to use, and it'll do all the switching internally. That's the concept, basically. Really, really cool. I'd like to get one, actually, get it wired up. If I, doing it again, moving my studio or whatever, reconfigure again, I'm gonna do that. Really convenient. Your opinion on speakers for aux box out to an Aspen Pittman design Centerpoint stereo Space Station XL. Is that he's in a new active speaker system or something that I don't know anything about, but he's talked to me at different trade shows and stuff I've seen. He's like, you have to come by and try this. And I haven't tried it. Is it cool? He seems really into it. I'm very excited about it. I'm sure it's interesting. Your opinion on speakers for aux box out to an Aspen Pittman designs. Well, so with the aux, the ones I like the best are the 412s, both the oversized and then the one called 412 Punch. It's green, both of the greenback cabinets are the ones I really like in the aux. And then I also like the 212 open back Alnico kind of boxy cabinet. Those are my favorite ones in the aux. So try those. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go right down to the bottom of the chat and I'm going to jet you guys. But this was fun. Do you know the band Hannah Rocks? Yes, I do. My sister was a big Hannah Rocks fan, so I always remember them. They're a cool band. What do you do for power in Japan? Step up transformer? Yes. Yeah, just take my amps and use the transformer. Any news on Sir PT amps? Coming soon. Very soon. Very soon. It's happening. It takes time, but I'll put it this way: once it's parts ordered and things being built, and, next step is basically build it up, so, and have a working one. So it's all happening. Somebody said I'd have a prototype of the PT50 by now. Not yet, but very soon. Things take time. But it's, basically building imminently. The hard work is done, I think, for the most part. Travis Lessing says, listening to your new album, Remember, it feels extra special. What's the story of that song? It was one of the last things that I wrote for the record, if not the last thing. Might have been the second to last thing. But basically, I saw a video where Laurie Basilio was playing through an MXR reverb pedal, the M300, which I had, and I'd never really used it that much, or really tried it extensively. And I heard her playing through it, and it sounded amazing. I thought, I got to try that. That sounds incredible. So it was really inspired initially by something that I heard her doing. And I picked up my old Telly and plugged it into that reverb pedal, and then plugged it into just a clean sound with a bit of compression, and it sounded awesome. And I wrote the intro to that song to Remember. So initially getting inspired by something I heard Laurie doing, dialing up the reverb to the similar setting, and then writing something. So that's what happened. And then I wrote the whole intro, and I thought, okay, where's this going to go now? And I thought, what if I just sit here for a minute and arpeggiate a chord, and then I'll build it up and do some kind of epic guy on a mountaintop solo at the end that sounds like Pink Floyd or something. So then I wrote the second half of the song, kind of based around that. And actually, the drum take on that song, I had the idea for the end of the tune and the basic tempo. So we found the tempo on a metronome and said, okay, that's about how fast I want it to go. The intro's a certain speed and the end's a certain speed, and it actually speeds up a little bit right in the middle of the song. But anyway, I didn't have any of the end of the song cut or anything, but Kurt Biscaro was at my place doing some drums for another tune. I said, would you mind just doing a take of this, and then I'm going to try and play to it. And I said, here's my idea. And I said, I'm just going to be arpeggiating a chord like this, and then it's going to burst out and go into this epic kind of Pink Floyd soul, like sort of ride cymbal, just grooving and just cruising through the end of the tune. So I explained conceptually what I wanted the song to do, and he went, okay, with the toms and everything, where it comes in. I said, just do toms and then come in and break into a full beat with a ride cymbal. And he played verbatim in one take exactly what's on the album. I just wrote the end of the song to his drums, actually at the lengths and everything. It was his first take. It was perfect. And that's it. That's how I did that tune, really. It's kind of piecemealed together, and I think it's my favorite thing on the record. And Remember, it just had a kind of a melancholy sound to it. The song, I like to end my records that way, I guess, with the last album, The Big Mistake, and then this one, similar sort of melancholy, epic kind of feel to it. And it was really based off of I've talked about this before, but Cornell gave me a tip once that said, like, if you've got to remember something in a song, like you're playing on TV or something, you've changed the arrangement of a song. Many times you do that, like cut down the length of a song, and it needs to be 3 minutes to fit on the air or something in a segment, but the song will be 3:45 long. So, okay, now what are we going to do? We need to cut the second verse in half or something in order to get the song down. And it was always such a pain because you're playing live on TV, and it's kind of, you're like, oh God, how am I going to remember? I've played this song 50 times live already at gigs, and now I got to remember to just do a half verse, and you're in the heat of the moment playing on TV, and so you're kind of amped up, and it's like, how do you remember? So he gave me this tip where he said, I like to put a sign on the stage that just says remember, and it's better than a chart or something more complicated. It's just like all you need to see is that one word, and then you'll, we're doing a half verse. It'll clue you in to musically whatever you need to remember to do. Sometimes one word is all you need to remember. So I used to write a sign at that point, and we actually did that. And I put a sign on the stage once playing on TV, and he said afterwards, he goes, "I saw your sign, and it made me remember." I don't know, good thing I got it from you, but so I thought that was a great tip. And then, of course, beyond that, I'd put the sign out to remember things. He's not with us anymore, so it's the double meaning of remembering folks after they're gone. So I thought it was a nice title for the tune, kind of melancholy tune. Got the idea from him. That's it. Okay, you guys, have a great week, and I'll be back and doing this again next Sunday. And hopefully then, I think the week after that, I've got to go to Germany, so I'll figure out a way or a time that I can do one of these from over there as well. Maybe figure out a way to coincide it with one of the clinics or something like that. I don't know. Figure out something. But thanks for joining. Good to be back. and we will see you guys again in a week's time. Have a good week.